3 years earlier, port of Karachappa, Western Sea, India. Lord Parshuram, be merciful, whispered Dashrath, the 40-year-old king of Kosala, the overlord king of the Sapt Sindhu. The emperor of the Sapt Sindhu had marched right across his sprawling empire from Ayodhya, its capital, to finally arrive at the western coast. Some rebellious traders sorely needed a lesson in royal justice. The combative Dashrath had built on the powerful empire he had inherited from his father Aja. Rulers from various parts of India had either been deposed or made to pay tribute and accept his suzerainty, thus making Dashrath the Chakravarti Samrat or the universal emperor. Yes, my lord, said Mrigasya, the general of Dashrath's army. This is not the only village that has been laid to waste. The enemy has destroyed all the villages in a 50-kilometer radius from where we stand. The wells have been poisoned with the carcasses of dead animals. Crops have been burned down ruthlessly. The entire countryside has been ravaged. Scorched earth policy, said Ashwapati, the king of Kekaya, a loyal ally of Dashrath and the father of the emperor's second and favorite wife, Kaikeyi. Yes, said another king. We cannot feed our army of 500,000 soldiers here. Our supply lines are already stretched. How the hell did that barbarian trader Kuber acquire the intellect for military strategy? Asked Dashrath. Dashrath could scarcely conceal his Kshatriyan disdain for the trading class, the Vaishyas. For the Sapt Sindhu royalty, wealth was the conqueror's right when acquired as the spoils of war, but inappropriate when earned through mere profiteering. The Vaishyas' lack of class invented scorn. They were subjected to heavy regulation and a draconian system of licenses and controls. The children of the Sapt Sindhu aristocracy were encouraged to become warriors or intellectuals, not traders. Resultantly, the trading class in these kingdoms was depleted over the years. With not enough money pouring in from wars, the royal coffers quickly emptied. Ever sensing an opportunity to profit, Kuber, the trader king of the island of Lanka, offered his services and expertise to carry out trading activities for all the Sapt Sindhu kingdoms. The then king of Ayodhya, Aja, granted the monopoly to Kuber in return for a huge annual compensation, which was then distributed to each subordinate kingdom within the Sapt Sindhu empire. Ayodhya's power soared, for it became the source of funds for other kingdoms within the empire. And yet, they could continue to hold on to their old contempt towards trade. Recently, however, Kuber had unilaterally reduced the commissions that Dashrath rightfully believed were Ayodhya's due. This impertinence of a mere trader certainly deserved punishment. Dashrath directed his vassal kings to merge their troops with his own and led them to Karachappa to remind Kuber of his place in the power hierarchy. Apparently, my lord, said Mrigasya, it is not Kuber who is calling the shots. Then who is? Asked Dashrath. We do not know much of him. I have heard that he is no more than 30 years of age. He joined Kuber some years ago as the head of his trading security force. Over time, he recruited more people and transformed the unit into a proper army. I believe he is the one who convinced Kuber to rebel against us. I am not surprised, said Ashwapati. I can't imagine that obese and indolent Kuber having the nerve to challenge the power of the Sapt Sindhu. Who is this man? Asked Dashrath. Where is he from? We really don't know much about him, my lord, said Mrigasya. Do you at least know his name? Yes, we do. His name is Ravan. Nilanjana, the royal physician, rushed down the hallway of the palace of Ayodhya. She had received an urgent summons late in the evening from the personal staff of Queen Kaushalya, the first wife of King Dashrath. The gentle and restrained Kaushalya, the daughter of the king of South Kosala, had been married to Dashrath for more than 15 years now. Her inability to provide the emperor with an heir had been a source of constant dismay to her. Frustrated by the absence of a successor, Dashrath had finally married Kaikeyi, the tall, fair, and static princess of the powerful western Indian kingdom of Kekaya, which was ruled by his close ally Ashwapati. That too was of no avail. He finally married Sumitra, the steely but unobtrusive princess of the holy city of Kashi, the city that housed the spirit of Lord Rudra and was famous for non-violence. Even so, the great Emperor Dashrath remained without an heir. No wonder then that when Kaushalya finally became pregnant, it was an occasion marked by both joy and trepidation. The queen was understandably desperate to ensure that the child was delivered safely. Her entire staff, most of whom were loyal retainers from her father's household, understood the political implications of the birth of an heir. Abundant caution was the norm. This was not the first time that Nilanjana had been summoned, many a times over frivolous reasons and false alarms. However, since the doctor too was from Queen Kaushalya's parental home, her loyalty forbade any overt signs of irritability. This time, though it appeared to be the real thing, the queen had gone into labor. Even as she ran, Nilanjana's lips fervently appealed to Lord Parshuram for a smooth delivery. And yes, a male child. I order you to restore our commission to the very fair 9/10 of your profits, and, in return, I assure you I will let you leave, growled Dashrath. In keeping with the rules of engagement, Dashrath had sent a messenger in advance to Kuber for negotiated settlements as a last resort. The adversaries had decided to meet in person on neutral ground. The chosen site was a pitch midway between Dashrath's military camp and the Karachapa fort. Dashrath was accompanied by Ashwapati, Mrigasya, and a bodyguard platoon of 20 soldiers. Kuber had arrived along with his army's general, Ravan, and 20 bodyguards. The Sapt Sindhu warriors could scarcely conceal their contempt as the obese Kuber had waddled laboriously into the tent. A round, cherubic face with thinning hair was balanced on the humongous body of the 70-year-old, fabulously wealthy trader from Lanka. His smooth complexion and fair skin belied his age. He wore a bright green dhoti and pink angvastram, and was bedecked with extravagant jewelry, a life of excess which, when added to his girth and effeminate manner, summed up in the mind of Dashrath that Kuber was the classic effete Vaishya. Dashrath restrained his thoughts as they struggled to escape through words. Does this ridiculous peacock actually think he can take me on? Your Highness, said Kuber nervously. I think I might be a little difficult to keep the commissions fixed at that level. Our costs have gone up, and the trading margins are not what they... Don't try your disgusting negotiating tactics with me, barked Dashrath as he banged his head on the table for effect. I am not a trader, I am an emperor. Civilized people understand the difference. It had not escaped Dashrath's notice that Kuber seemed ill at ease. Perhaps the trader had not intended for events to reach this stage. The massive troop movement to Karachapa had evidently unnerved him. Dashrath presumed that a few harsh words would effectively dissuade Kuber from persisting with his foolhardy quest. After which, to be fair, he had decided that he would let Kuber keep an extra 2%. Dashrath understood that sometimes a little magnanimity quelled discontent. Dashrath leaned forward as he lowered his voice to a menacing whisper. I can be merciful. I can forgive mistakes. But you really need to stop this nonsense and do as I say. With a nervous gulp, Kuber glanced at the impassive Ravan who sat to his right. Even sitting, Ravan's great height and rippling musculature was intimidating. His battle-worn, swarthy skin was pock-marked, probably by a childhood disease. A thick beard valiantly attempted to cover his ugly marks, while a handlebar moustache set off his menacing features. His attire was unremarkable, though consisting of a white dhoti and a cream angvastram. His headgear was singular, with two threatening 6-inch long horns reaching out from the top on either side. Kuber helplessly turned back to Dashrath as his general remained deathly still. But your highness, we are facing many problems, and our invested capital is— You are trying my patience now, Kuber, growled Dashrath, as he ignored Ravan and focused his attention on the chief trader. You are irritating the emperor of the Sapt Sindhu. But my lord, look, if you do not continue to pay our rightful commissions, believe me, you will all be dead by this time tomorrow. I will first defeat your miserable army, then travel all the way to that cursed island of yours and burn your city to the ground. But there are problems with our ships and labor costs have— I don't care about your problems, shouted Dashrath, his legendary temper at boiling point now. You will, after tomorrow, said Ravan softly. Dashrath swung sharply towards Ravan, riled that Kuber's deputy had had the audacity to interrupt the conversation. How dare you speak out of— How dare you, Dashrath? Asked Ravan, an octave higher this time. Dashrath, Ashwapati, and Mrigasya sat in stunned silence, shocked that the mere head of a protection force had had the temerity to address the emperor of the Sapt Sindhu by his name. How dare you imagine that you can even come close to defeating an army that I lead? Asked Ravan with an eerie sense of calm. Dashrath stood up angrily, and his chair went flying back with a loud clutter. He thrust his finger in Ravan's direction. I'll be looking for you on the battlefield tomorrow, you upstart. Slowly and menacingly, Ravan rose from his chair, all the while his closed right fist covering a pendant that hung from a gold chain around his neck. As Ravan's fist unclenched, Dashrath was horrified by what he saw. The pendant was actually the bones of 2 human fingers, the phalanges of which were carefully fastened with gold links. Clenching this macabre sovereign again, Ravan appeared to derive enormous power from it. Dashrath stared in disbelief. He had heard of demons that drank blood and wine from the skulls of their enemies, and even kept their body parts as trophies. But here was a warrior who wore the relics of his enemy. Who is this monster? I assure you, I will be waiting, said Ravan, with a hint of wry humor lacing his voice, as he watched Dashrath gape at him with horror. I look forward to drinking your blood. Ravan turned around and strode out of the tent. Kuber hurriedly wobbled out behind him, followed by the Lankan bodyguards. Dashrath's anger bubbled over. Tomorrow we annihilate this scum, but no one will touch that man, he growled, pointing towards the retreating figure of Ravan. He will be killed by me. Only me. Dashrath was bristling with fury even as the day drew to a close. I will personally chop up his body and throw it to the dogs, he shouted. Kaikeyi sat impassively as her seething husband paced up and down the royal tent of the Ayodhya camp. She always accompanied him on his military campaigns. How dare he speak to me like that? Kaikeyi scrutinized Dashrath languidly. He was tall, dark, and handsome, the quintessential Kshatriya. A well-manicured moustache only added to his attractiveness. Though muscular and strong, age had begun to take its toll on his well-built physique. Stray streaks of white in his hair were accompanied by a faint hint of a sag in the muscles. Even the somras, the mysterious anti-aging drink reserved for the royals by their sages, had not been able to adequately counter a lifetime of ceaseless wearing hard drinking. I am the emperor of the Sapt Sindhu, shouted Dashrath, striking his chest with unconcealed rage. How dare he? Even though alone with her husband, Kaikeyi maintained the demure demeanor normally reserved for her public interactions with him. She had never seen him so angry. "My love," said Kaikeyi, "save the anger for tomorrow. Have your dinner. You will need your strength for the battle that lies ahead." "Does that outcast mercenary even have a clue as to who he has challenged? I have never lost a battle in my life," Dashrath continued, as though Kaikeyi hadn't spoken. "And you will win tomorrow as well." Dashrath turned towards Kaikeyi. "Yes, I will win tomorrow. Then I will cut him to pieces and feed his corpse to mongrel dogs and gutter pigs." "Of course you will, my love. You have determined that already." Dashrath snorted angrily and turned around, ready to storm out of the tent. But Kaikeyi could no longer contain herself. "Dashrath," she said harshly. Dashrath stopped in his tracks. His favorite wife used that tone with him only when necessary. Kaikeyi walked up to him, held his hand, and led him to the dinner table. She held his shoulders and roughly pushed him into the chair. Then she tore a piece of the roti, scooped up some vegetables and meat with it, and offered it to him. "You cannot defeat that demon tomorrow if you don't eat and sleep tonight," she barely whispered. Dashrath opened his mouth. Kaikeyi stuffed the morsel of food into it.